Hi everyone, I hope all is well. This week's Parsha is Parshat Yitro. Now Parshat Yitro is famous for many reasons, right? We start off the Parsha talking about Yitro, Moshe's father-in-law, who introduces a new judiciary system into the culture of the Jewish people after they left Egypt when they're at Mount Sinai. And so too, we got the Ten Commandments for the first time in the Torah. So there's a lot going on here, a lot of famous verses as well. Something I really haven't paid much attention to in the past is the last verse in the entire Parsha. Now, following the giving of the Ten Commandments, God tells the Jewish people to build an altar. He says build an altar, but not from anything fancy, not from gold, not from silver, not from fancy stones, but build it from rocks and dirt. And the final verse in the Parsha says that you shouldn't build steps up to this altar. Instead, we build a ramp, but it says you shouldn't build steps up to the altar. Why? Because you're going to reveal your nakedness to the floor, supposedly to the altar. So, on an obvious level, this tells us a lot about Jewish modesty and consciousness, because even to a physical pile of dirt and rock, right, we're able to have the mentality that this is a godly space. First of all, and second of all, it sets a baseline for Jewish modesty throughout daily life. So those are two very off the bat messages we get from this verse. But I was really thinking about it today, even before I took a look at the Parsha, looking around on campus. Everyone walks around with their head down, they're taking big steps, and their goal is to get from point A to point B as fast as possible because they slept in late and they just need to get to class, right? That's what everyone's doing on campus. And I didn't have much going on earlier today, so I put my head up, I walked around slowly, and it was very nice. I was able to observe so many things that I usually don't get to see. And this final verse in this week's Parsha actually ties into this very well in halacha l'maisa, in practical halacha that we do every single day, multiple times a day. So in the Talmud, which is right behind me, there's an argument whether when we daven Shemona Esrei, whether our feet together are like angels or like the Kohanim or like the priests. So we see in halacha, we see in the Rambam, in the Shulchan Aruch, that it's probably, there are both good cases to make, whether it's like the angels or the Kohanim, but it's probably like the Kohanim. Why so? Because we learn from this last verse in this week's Parsha that you shouldn't take steps that you shouldn't build steps to this altar, because it's going to reveal your nakedness, that the Kohanim, when they go to the Mizbeach, when they go to the altar, take small steps, and they almost shuffle up to the altar itself. And so too, when we end Shemona Esrei, this is real halacha, so we should all be doing this when we finish Shemona Esrei. You take small steps back at the end of your Shemona Esrei. So it's, first of all, something very interesting to note. But tying it all together, taking small steps, just on a psychological level, really allows us to have much more attention to what's going on. And this is just something that I encountered today, so it's just crazy that I came upon this in the Parsha. So my bracha to everyone this week is that throughout everything we do, we could really take a lesson from the seemingly random Talmudic-esque verse in the Torah, in this week's Parsha, that it's sometimes, most of the time, if you could argue, better to take small steps in order to really get a grasp on what's going on. And with that, I wish you all a Shabbat Shalom.